All right, time for another Madden NFL 24 two-a-day off-season preview video. I'm calling these things two-a-day videos, but I've only been doing one a day, so I'm pretty sure I'll run out of time with free agency starting in a couple weeks. So let's see how it goes. Story of my life, right? Anyways, today the random wheel landed on the Dallas Cowboys, America's team. This should be a fun one. Let's do it. With the extra salary cap space afforded to teams in 2024, Dallas is one of only 7 to be in the negative right now. But they are only $3 million under, so they should easily be able to clear enough to re-sign a couple guys and maybe sign a couple guys. Dak Prescott taking up $60 million of the cap on his own. Obviously, quarterbacks, that's the way it goes. Dallas's top-ranked free agent is left tackle Tyron Smith. Smith, probably a future Hall of Famer, 13 years in Dallas, still productive when healthy, but it's the when healthy part that they just cannot count on anymore. He has only played in 30 games the past 4 seasons, so yeah, injuries have just completely derailed his career, and Dallas is most likely going to move on. The Cowboys' second highest ranked free agent is running back Tony Pollard, rated 88 overall. Pollard had a nice 5-year run in Dallas, rushing for over 3,600 yards and phasing Ezekiel Elliott out of the offense. He was franchise tagged after a very good 2022 season where he ran for 5 yards per carry. This past year, he chugged his way to right at 4 yards. 26 years old, Dallas has salary cap issues. Running back is pretty easily replaceable. I mean, Pollard was a former 4th-round pick, so chances are very high they will not re-sign him. The Cowboys' third-ranked free agent is Stephon Gilmore, cornerback, rated 88 overall. The future Hall of Famer had a good lone season in Dallas, 2 interceptions. He still remains a very solid starting cornerback in the NFL, but Dallas has Trevon Diggs, who is about to make big-time money, and Deron Bland, who really stepped up. So that's their starters right there. They need depth, but you don't sign Gilmore to be a third cornerback. He'll probably still get a decent-sized paycheck as he looks to round out a Hall of Fame NFL career. The Cowboys' top positional need is offensive tackle. We spoke about Tyron Smith. Even though he only played 30 games in 4 seasons, he was still very dominant when he did play. Unfortunately, if they choose to move on, there's not an in-house replacement. Tyler Smith is probably better off at guard. He could slide over to tackle if necessary, but he's a much better asset inside at guard. Terrence Steele on the right side isn't bad, not worth his paycheck, but he's good enough to hold down the fort on the right side. But Dallas has always had a solid offensive line. That's been the catalyst of the entire offense, and replacing Smith is going to be very difficult. The Cowboys' second biggest need is running back. Tony Pollard, Rico Dowdle handled all but 23 carries for the Cowboys last year. Both of those guys only averaged 4 yards per carry, so not a lot to get excited about as far as returners. Deuce Vaughn really struggled, only 1.7 yards per carry. He's more of a homeless man's Darren Sproles. That's the best you can hope for him. Fortunately, Dallas has a good offensive line, especially on the interior. Whoever they draft in the middle round should be just fine. The Cowboys' third biggest need is linebacker all across the board. Leighton Vander Esch, who looked like a potential superstar after an amazing rookie season, has just struggled with injuries in the worst way during his 6-year Dallas career. Cannot count on him going forward. Micah Parsons moved to defensive end. Things got so bad that Marquise Bell, a 205-pound safety, was forced to play linebacker for most of the season. Damone Clark is a keeper, but the Cowboys really need 2 new starters at the position, unless they want to continue to expose Bell. The Cowboys do not often splurge in free agency, and they don't really have the cap space anyway, so they'll probably just sign a couple of guys to fill out the roster and plug some holes. Like I mentioned before, linebacker is a big need. Drew Tranquill is a starting caliber linebacker who probably won't cost too much, and more importantly, he's only missed 4 games the past 3 seasons after being injured and being held to 1 game during his sophomore season in 2020. So 2022 is the best season of his career, 146 tackles and 5 sacks, and he could be a quality starter at either middle linebacker or on the weak side. According to Madden, Dallas has one of the stronger cornerback duos in the NFL. Both guys are rated in the high 80s. But as you can see, there is no depth behind them. Dallas could sign somebody like Adoree Jackson, who is probably done as a full-time starter. He has dealt with a ton of injuries during his career, only playing full seasons during his first 2 years. But he's still got speed and could be a solid nickel back as long as he's on the field. I do not really see any offensive tackles within Dallas's price range that could be a clear upgrade as a starter. They might have to try to go with a reclamation project like Mekhi Becton, who somehow Madden still has superstar dev traits, even though he's a pretty terrible player and has been for a couple years. But he's a former first-round pick, has the pedigree, and could be somebody that Dallas hopes can rebound a little bit and provide some quality snaps. So the narrative surrounding the Cowboys is an easy one. 3 straight 12-5 seasons, but only 1 playoff win to show for it. I'm not a Cowboys fan. I don't religiously follow the team. I'm not sure what the issue is come playoff time, but what can you do? Eventually, you're just going to have to hope this group breaks through. They have some of the most talented players in the NFL. Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Zach Martin, Micah Parsons, DeMarcus Lawrence, Trevon Diggs. These are guys you want on your roster. There's star power everywhere. The depth may be lacking a little bit, but the NFC is wide open. You know, we've seen teams before who have disappointed until that one year they didn't. Peyton Manning and the Colts went through the same thing for years and years until they finally broke through. So is it coaching? Is it Prescott? I don't know. I'm not here to talk about that kind of stuff. I'm just here to talk about Madden rosters, and they have one of the better rosters in the NFL. So Cowboys fans just have to keep their fingers crossed. If this team wins another 12 games, hopefully they can get a bye and make some noise in the playoffs, because the NFC is there for the taking. As far as a draft, pretty easy. Offensive line in the first round, I think, is the obvious way to go. There are quite a bit of quality offensive tackles in this class, so even picking in the 20s, they could find a future starter. Jordan Morgan, Amarius Mims, Tyler Guyton, they're in that range right there. I think those guys are quality and could develop into solid starting tackles. Offensive line is the one position you usually have to draft, and you can't really plug holes in free agency because those guys aren't available that often. Other than that, they need to find a new starting running back. 3rd or 4th round, Blake Corum would be great, but he's the top guy available. This is not a good running back class. You might not see a guy go until the 3rd round. Depth everywhere at wide receiver, cornerback, need some linebackers, could probably use a couple more guys along the defensive line. But this is one of the better starting lineups in the NFL, and it's just going to be up to them to do what they need to do during the playoffs. There's really no excuse. It just happens sometimes, and we'll see going forward. Okay, another video done. Bye.